Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, we have a new patch for Fallout 76 today, and it seems to be predominantly focused on nuclear winter, which is probably no surprise given that it's the brand new game mode. It's mostly bug fixes and so on and so forth, and a few little tweaks to gameplay, stuff like that. But it also takes the game from the pre-beta phase into beta, and to be honest, I have absolutely no idea what the difference is. I rather suspect for most of us there will basically be no difference at all, but we are moving on apparently, so let's jump in and take a look at what we've got actually in the patch. So unusually, I'm actually hoping that Bethesda have done a few bits and pieces that they've not mentioned in the patch notes, because there's a couple of big issues that have been floating around in the last couple of weeks that I have noticed and that are noticeably absent from this particular set of patch notes. Primarily that in adventure mode in particular, there seem to be an awful lot more disconnects, or server disconnects, at least on PC anyway, than there usually are, or at least I've experienced more. So I'm quite hoping they've done something about that, but there's nothing in the patch about it, so fingers crossed for something they haven't told us there, but we'll have to see how that actually pans out. So 10.5 arrives today with a host of bug fixes for all game modes, as well as a few new design adjustments for Nuclear Winter. And additionally, Nuclear Winter is leveled up from pre-beta to beta. Okay, whatever. So, Nuclear Winter design changes. Items and loot. Under Armour. Players can now favourite one Under Armour in the Atomic Shop for use in Nuclear Winter, in addition to one headwear item and one outfit. So, basically that means you don't have to be wearing the Vault suit in Nuclear Winter anymore when you start out. Still limited to Atomic Shop items, so if you haven't bought any Atomic Shop Under Armour items, you will still be wearing the Vault suit, but it gives you a little bit more option in how your character's dressed, which is cool. Automatic combat rifles can now be found in small supply crates rather than pre-existing containers in the world. Hadn't noticed a trend there, but okay, that does make more sense. The only things that I get the impression are really meant to be in world containers are basically pipe weapons, so it's a logical change. Submachine guns have been upgraded to medium supply crates rather than small ones. Which kind of makes sense, I suppose. They're pretty effective in Nuclear Winter, to be fair, so making them a little bit rarer, a little bit harder to come by is a logical change. And adjusted the supply crate density in a few areas where more crates were spawning than intended. Don't know that that's a change that'll make very many people happy. I can think of a couple of places where that might be come into effect, particularly the radio tower above Flatwoods, but generally taking loot out is not usually the most popular change that the development team behind a Battle Royale can make. It's usually the opposite that people are asking for, so we'll have to see how that actually pans out, but it'll add that hunt for loot's going to be a little bit more of a factor in some areas than it previously was. Just see how that goes. So perks, Dead Man Sprinting. This perk previously was not applying its effects correctly, has been redesigned. Dead Man Sprinting now causes action points to drain 25% slower while under 30% HP. Okay, that's fine. Overseer Progression. New entries have been added to Zack's terminals that can be unlocked by reaching Overseer rank 100. Okay, fine. I'm about a bazillion miles away from that, so not particularly interesting to me at this stage, but for those who have got way too much time to play this game. There we go, that's there waiting for you. UI. Tutorials. A more info button has been added to the Nuclear Winter perk card menu, which can be used to reopen the perk card tutorial. Okay, not sure that's as useful as it seems, but okay. I would think more information on the perk cards and the details of how they actually work would be more useful, but okay, if you're struggling a bit with understanding exactly what's going on with perk cards, you can take that back and actually have a look at the tutorial again. Fine. So, tons and tons of bug fixes. Not actually all that many for Adventure and Survival mode, but we've got some art and graphics changes to Power Armor. So, sections of Power Armor chassis no longer visible through Black Rider Power Armor paint, and the paint's headlamp eye colour has been adjusted. A bit on the yellow side, as I recall, so hopefully that'll just make it even spookier. Pieces of rebar no longer obstruct the player's view while wielding heavy weapon in first-person perspective whilst wearing Power Armor with the Inferno Mark 1, 2 or 3 paints. Okay, I think this is a new paint job, but something I don't know very much about. Maybe you guys would let me know a little bit more about it, but Apparently there was something going on there where your view was being obscured. That won't be a problem anymore. Only a positive change if that's a problem. So just an issue that could cause character shadows to appear blocky, so it should look better. Good. And the first responder's pump action shotgun paint will now correctly apply to silencer mods. Yeah, I had noticed that the silencer didn't seem to have any paint on it, which I assumed was a deliberate choice. Apparently it's not. So that's been fixed. Camp, crafting and workshops. Addressed an exploit that could allow items in player vending machines to be duplicated. Good, let's not have this problem coming back again. Signs. Fixed an issue that prevented the red rocket mega sign from taking damage from subsequent player attacks after the first. It's an odd bug. Very strange one, but yeah, not the biggest issue in the world, I don't think, but makes sense to fix it if it is an issue. Yeah, very strange that the first attack will do damage, but subsequent ones wouldn't. I wonder what on earth caused that. Perks. Gun Fu. VATS no longer automatically closes after killing an enemy with the Gun Fu perk card, so you can continue to build up your Gun Fu bonuses over time after you kill a single enemy, whereas before it was just forcing you to start from scratch by closing VATS. That's yeah, a good change. That makes that particular perk much more effective. Is good. Performance and stability. Now this is where I would like to see a bit more going on, but still some of it's good in here. The performance. Improved camp load times when connecting to a world and after fast travelling. Yeah, that's basically the longest load that I ever experienced, particularly when loading in for the first time. So definitely happy to see that change. Smoother load-ins welcome. It's not exactly a game-breaking thing, but it's always nice to get in and get going that little bit quicker. Stability. On PC, attempting to fast travel from one active event to another no longer sometimes causes the game client to crash. Good. Adjust a rare crash that could occur when fast travelling or loading into a world. Also welcome. And fixed a rare crash that could occur when clicking on a wanted teammate's map marker. Okay, very specific, but also good. As I say, I would really like to see something in here talking about general performance and stability of the servers, because I've seen a lot more disconnect issues in the last couple of weeks, which, as I said in other videos, I think is probably just down to there being more players on the servers as a result of nuclear winter in particular. But nothing in here about that, so yeah, it's a big oversight, or possibly something that's taking them longer to do than they wanted, and it's been pushed back to patch 11 maybe. Who knows? But they haven't said either way, so would definitely like to hear a bit more about that. You know, we might get lucky. It might be something they've just not included on the list. So, quests and events. Operation Tidy. Players can once again speak to Scout Leader Pompey to start the Operation Tidy daily quest. So this is one of the Pioneer Scouts Tadpole quests. It's up in the Toxic Valley at Kitty Corner Cabins. It asks you to run around picking up toxic mutagenic waste. Dead easy little quest. An easy way of getting a few more bits and pieces from the Tadpole quest line. And also for working towards getting your extra badges and so on for possum upgrades, which are hard enough to get as it is without one of the easiest options disappearing, so nice to have that back. And UI, a little fix for character creation. If you get removed from the world due to inactivity, when you log back in, you won't have portions of the UI disappearing. Because, yeah, that definitely needed fixing. So with Nuclear Winter, we've got quite a lot of changes, some of them more interesting than others. An exploit addressed here with art and graphics that caused grasses to be disabled, grasses and shrubs, so meaning people couldn't hide in bushes, so any exploit removal is most welcome. Vault 51's interior is now a bit brighter, which should make it easier to see who's practicing their boxing skills on you before a match begins. Fine, okay. Don't mind being able to see a bit better in Vault 51. Rather, it said they were taking boxing ability out of the lobby altogether, please. That would be nice. It's just noisy and irritating. There we go. Definitely something I would like to see gone. But if you want to see more on my thoughts around Nuclear Winter, then do take a look at the video I put up yesterday. It's my review of the game mode as it currently stands. Camps. Players can now place blueprints in Nuclear Winter that normally require home defense or science perks in other game modes. However, all objects a blueprint contains that require those perks, such as turrets and traps, will be removed on placement during a Nuclear Winter match, basically because there's another system in place to put those items into your build. So, couple of other points that relate to that as well, basically meaning that you can place your camp more easily without requiring those perks, because you no longer have the items that require those perks being placed, in short. And food, water and resource tabs no longer appear in the build menu during nuclear winter matches because they're entirely redundant. Challenges. Combat. Nuclear winter complete matches challenge descriptions have been updated to stay in matches until the end to help clarify the objective. Well, it does help clarify the objective, but not nearly as much as it might. So I think basically you don't necessarily have to win. If you don't win and then stay in spectator mode and watch on until you get to the end of the match, i.e. somebody eventually wins, you'll complete the objective, I think is what this is trying to say. But it could definitely be a bit clearer on that point. I realise I've got limited space in order to put the description in, but you know, they can't put entire paragraphs there, but there's still room for a bit more clarification there, I think. And the daily challenges are back in the game. For some reason they had removed those. I think there was an issue with them, but yes, from the look of this, they were you were able to complete them more than once a day. So yeah, why they didn't just fix the issue, I don't know. But challenges are now back in the game. You can add your daily challenges again, and you won't be able to complete them more than once. So that's good to see. It means you actually progress a little quicker. Lilacs no longer get stuck in trees. Okay, good. Rad barrels now more consistently apply rads to nearby candidates. I wouldn't personally mind seeing fewer rad barrels around rather than having them apply more radiation, but not one of my favourite features of nuclear winter, the radiation barrels. There's enough sources of radiation in the game as it is, you don't really need to be adding that. In my personal opinion, anyway. So, perks. Frog legs. This is a big one. The Frog Legs perk card description has been updated to jump significantly higher to better match its effect description in the Pip-Boy. So, Frog Legs is becoming something of a meta. There's quite a bit on Reddit on it, and people are actually writing articles on the subject now as well. So, people are grabbing Frog Legs and going down the grenade road and grenade launcher road, and basically just jumping around the match and being quite overpowered as a result. Clearly they want to, I would guess, take more time to examine this and see whether or not there is a meta forming there. To be fair, I think there is. I can see that quickly becoming a bit much if there's an overemphasis on people using that and everybody's leaning in that direction because it's so effective, which is looking like being the case, to be fair. Then that will definitely need a nerf, I think. It's probably going to make quite a few people sad, but it's a balance change that needs to come, but is not here today. The Ground Pounder, which increases automatic rifle reload speed, should now actually do that, whereas before apparently it wasn't, which is cool. And Wrecking Ball now correctly increases the damage dealt to camp and workshop objects. So, number of item things. Couple of atomic shop items that can be favorited properly now, whereas there were issues with that before. All 51 hull tapes are no longer placed in containers. Sure what difference that makes, but okay. Removed a location where it was possible for the Bowie knife to spawn, as it's not meant to be in nuclear winter. Okay, fairly minor thing, but fine. Flipped over a few magazines. Duration of AP reduction effect applied by Scout's Life 8 has been increased from 30 minutes to an hour, which is consistent with all other nuclear winter magazine effects. In short, that basically means the AP reduction effect is going to last the whole game, but as far as I'm aware, the games last about 20 minutes anyway, so I'm not really sure what difference it makes having it increased to an hour, but okay. Maybe there is the odd game that's somehow lasting longer than that, I don't know. Power armor. Looking away from a downed teammate while attempting to revive them no longer causes the reviving player to exit their power armor. That's a good fix, that would be quite frustrating. And holding to revive a teammate while wearing power armor no longer causes the controls to become unresponsive. Also a good fix. Implemented an improvement to reduce cases where players may be disconnected from a server immediately after finding a nuclear winter match. Can we have some of that in adventure mode, please? That'd be nice. Repeatedly adding and removing players from a team no longer cause those players to be disconnected. Okay, interesting. Really sure why you'd be doing that, but anyway. Performance. Objects placed with the camp no longer cause hitching when they're destroyed by the storm. Okay. Stability. Fix the crash that could occur when returning to the main menu from Nuclear Winter Spectator mode. Not one I've encountered personally, but yeah, that would be frustrating if you had to relaunch your game after that. Especially if you got faff around getting back into your squad and everything. That's a welcome fix, I'm very sure, for quite a few people. Addressed an issue that could cause a server crash at the end of nuclear winter matches. Fine, yep. Definitely preferable. And fixed a pair of crashes that could occur when in nuclear winter's spectator mode. Okay, so just a whole load of crashes that shouldn't occur anymore. Very nice. So we've got a load of UI changes. There's a lot under here that I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to pick up a few of the more significant and interesting ones. So, addressed an exploit that would allow player to obtain a weapon inside of Vault 51. My big question here is, does that weapon then do any damage when you're in Vault 51? Because that would be bad. I mean, people starting out with a distinct disadvantage because somebody's running around either killing them or hurting them. And the other one attached to this addressed an exploit that could allow a player to remain inside of Vault 51 rather than loading into a match with other candidates. This is the first I've actually heard of either of these, which is interesting. Definitely a much needed removal of an exploit there. But remaining in Vault 51 while everybody else is in a match would basically allow you to sit there until everybody died and come first as a result. That is assuming, of course, that the zone shrinks down to nothing eventually, which it should do. I've never actually checked myself, to be honest. But if it doesn't, you'll be stuck on, first and second place, and the game would never advance. But yeah, that would be an exploit that would allow you to win every single match you played if you just hang out in the vault when nobody else is there. So definitely a good fix. On Xbox, fixed a rare issue that could cause non-functional UI elements to appear and persist during a match under specific circumstances. No, not very specific as to what those circumstances are, but persistent UI elements that don't do anything would be annoying, so I'm sure there's plenty of Xbox players are happy to see that repaired. The boundaries of the storm now correctly display on the map when the storm constricts. Never actually noticed an issue there, but if the map's not accurately reflecting that, then that can cause issues with planning your movement, so good to see that issue addressed. So they've fixed an issue that could cause the perk menu to become unresponsive while managing perk card selections, which is good. Again, I'd imagine this is only an intermittent issue, but being stuck in that menu while you're in the lobby and then possibly even having that persist into game so you can't select where you want to spawn would be a frustrating thing, if that's how that actually pans out. But just a little fix that's quite nice to have. There's a few people being frustrated by that. Spectator mode. At the end of a match, banner now appears for spectators indicating who won. So that's welcome, so you've got a better idea of what the actual result was, because sometimes that gets a little buried in the UI at the moment, so nice to have a clear display for exactly who won, and then you can see what happened. Yeah, not a massive change, but a nice little thing. And the camera no longer zooms for spectators when the player they are watching looks down a weapon's sights. That makes sense. Weird one here, the red skull icon that marks a player's death location will no longer appear for the player who was killed. Instead, it will only appear for their teammates. So in short, you'll be able to see where your teammates died, but not where you died, if I understand this correctly. That seems like a strange choice. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is. Kind of be handy to know where you died, possibly, because then at least you can use the spectator mode to figure out what happened and learn from your mistakes, but can't see where you died, that option disappears, so it's a bit of a strange choice. Here's a good one. Stats. When the final enemy on a team is killed while all of their teammates are in the down state, the kill credit for the downed enemies will be awarded to the player who originally downed them, as long as that player is still alive. So this is one of the fixes I was asking for in my video the other day. Previously, all the kills were going to the person who killed the final player, even if they only killed that one individual, whereas the people who downed anybody else were losing out. Now, the kills will, I'm hesitant to say be properly attributed to the right player, but it's definitely the way it should be. There's one change that they haven't made that I would like to see them change, and that's the provided you're still alive part. If a player dies, irrespective of whether or not the person who killed them dies, that person still killed them. They should still get credit, in my opinion. So, dead or not, I'd like to see you get the credit for that. I've been on the receiving end of not getting that credit on more than one occasion, because I die a lot. And added several missing tutorials and removed a blank second page from a terminal entry. So, nothing particularly earth-shattering, a few nice little fixes in there, mostly bug fixes, not the biggest patch ever. It's the absence of a couple of things that's a little disappointing with this one. I'm hoping that some of this stuff will be concealed in back-end stuff that they haven't actually listed in the patch notes, but it's also possible that there's particularly with, say, the disconnect issues in adventure mode, that fixing that issue is taking a little bit longer than they'd like, and they wanted to get these fixes out now, so they pushed it back to patch 11. We'll have to see over the next couple of weeks what they say in the next blog post and what they put out in patch 11 when that eventually drops. My guess is probably 2 weeks from now. But yeah, hopefully that'll smooth quite a few people's experiences anyway, which will be positive. But yeah, I am coming away from this set of patch notes feeling a little more underwhelmed than I often am, which is a tad unfortunate, but still, we'll have to see how it goes. Fingers crossed for some good news on Thursday with the blog post. So, I do hope you guys found that useful and informative. If you did, please do consider hitting those buttons for me. It's always very, very much appreciated. As always, social media links down below if you'd like to catch up with me over there. And if you haven't already, please do consider dropping in on one of the live streams. It's a really good time, and you never know, you might be able to drop in on one of the games with me, particularly if we're over on PC. For now, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I will be speaking to you all very, very soon.